The Selkie, a creature of Celtic and Norse mythology, is often depicted as a beautiful shapeshifter, capable of transforming between human and seal forms by shedding or donning their skin. While frequently associated with allure and romance, a deeper examination of their lore reveals a complex and unsettling nature that positions them as profoundly terrifying figures. This video explores 10 distinct aspects of Selkie mythology that contribute to their terrifying perception, ranging from their inherent duality to the devastating psychological impact they inflict upon human lives. The terrifying nature of the Selkie one. The uncanny valley of their dual nature. The Selkies' fundamental ability to shapeshift between human and seal forms by removing or putting on their skin creates an unsettling sense of liminality. They exist perpetually between worlds land and sea, human and animal, a state of non-belonging that challenges conventional perceptions of identity and reality. This inherent ambiguity evokes a profound sense of the uncanny, where something familiar becomes disturbingly alien. The sight of a head emerging from a seal skin followed by shoulders, a torso, and legs, as described in some tales, is a visual representation of this unsettling transformation. Its constant state of transition, never fully one thing or another, prevents true integration, and fosters a deep unease, as their true form is always just beneath the surface or a skin away.
You are watching Is It Real? Make sure to subscribe, like, and share this story.
2. The horror of domestic captivity and the perversion of love. One of the most pervasive and disturbing narratives surrounding Selkies involves a human, it's typically a man, stealing a female Selkie's skin to compel her into marriage. This act, often framed in folklore as a romantic pursuit, is in contemporary interpretation a profound violation of autonomy in a form of domestic imprisonment. The Selkie is left with no choice but to marry her captor, her existence on land being forced rather than voluntary. Her home, meant to be a sanctuary, becomes a prison, and the loved one becomes an oppressor. This perversion of intimate relationships into instruments of control is deeply disturbing. The narrative of the Selkie's plight serves as a powerful, ancient allegory for real-world issues of intimate partner violence and coercive control. The theft of the skin symbolizes the stripping away of a person's identity, its independence, and ability to leave an abusive situation. The United Nations views forced marriage as a human rights abuse that violates individual freedom and autonomy, a concept vividly mirrored in the Selkie's forced existence. This dimension of the Selkie myth roots its terror not just in fantasy, but in the very real and pervasive horror of human rights abuses within relationships, giving the folklore an enduring, chilling relevance. 3. The heart-wrenching abandonment of loved ones, perhaps. The most emotionally devastating aspect of Selkie lore for humans is the creature's absolute and often immediate abandonment of their human family once their skin is recovered. This departure is depicted as having zero pull from the family they loved and nourished, leaving behind deeply traumatized spouses and children with no farewell or explanation. The finality and ruthlessness of this departure are profoundly unsettling, leaving a void of unexplained loss. A vivid example from folklore describes a Selkie mother, upon returning to the sea, turning 5 of her children into rocks, swimming away with the remaining children under each arm. This act of transformation and abandonment underscores the Selkie's capacity for cold, absolute severance. This capability to seemingly love and nurture, only to sever those bonds entirely and without remorse, implies that human love and commitment are ultimately powerless against the Selkie's inherent nature. This leads to a terrifying realization about the fragility and potential futility of deep emotional connections. The Selkie's longing for the sea is an intrinsic part of her being, and her return is framed as an inevitability that neither chains of steel nor chains of love can keep her from. This represents the triumph of an alien, natural law over human constructs of family and affection. The terror for humans arises from the realization that their deepest emotional bonds are secondary to a creature's fundamental nature, a nature that is alien and unyielding, highlighting humanity's precarious position in the face of untamed forces. 4. Their unpredictable and potentially vengeful nature, while often portrayed as gentle, kind-natured, and even helpful. Appearing to save lives at sea, Selkies possess a dual nature that can turn dangerous and vengeful. This inherent unpredictability makes them unsettling. Their benevolence is not guaranteed, and their capacity for harm can manifest unexpectedly. Tales from Shetland describe Selkies luring islanders into the sea at midsummer, with the lovelorn humans never returning to dry land. Other stories depict direct threats and coercion, such as Selkies kidnapping a hunter and threatening him with death unless he heals an injured Selkie. Their vengeance can also be provoked by human transgression, as seen when the skinning of seal folk by fishermen caused a surge in seawater, abandoning one fisherman to peril. This capacity for retribution often stems from human actions that are not immediately perceived as having supernatural repercussions, introducing a terrifying element of hidden consequences. Seemingly mundane acts like hunting seals can provoke powerful, otherworldly retribution, fostering a sense of constant vulnerability to forces beyond human understanding and control. The Selkie's unpredictable and vengeful nature symbolizes the untamed, dangerous aspects of the sea and the natural world, particularly for coastal communities dependent on it. The sea, which can be bountiful, is also described as a wild, tempestuous, and an unpredictable force. The Selkie embodies this dual capacity, serving as a chilling reminder that humanity is not in control of its environment, and that the very source of their livelihood can also be their undoing. 5. The psychological trauma inflicted on human spouses and children. The Selkie's actions, particularly the abandonment, inflict profound and lasting psychological trauma on their human spouses and children. The sudden, inexplicable loss of a parent or partner, coupled with the knowledge of their non-human nature, can lead to severe abandonment trauma. This trauma is characterized by emotional instability, insecurity, trust issues, low self-esteem, and unhealthy relationship patterns. The ruthless immediacy of their departure, often without explanation, leaves an indelible scar of betrayal and confusion. The abandoned spouse is left in profound despair, as one account describes a man knee-deep in the chilly waves, stinking of fish, and cried. This situation leaves a legacy of unresolved grief, not just for the lost parent, but for the lost truth of their family's origins. Children are left grappling with a profound identity crisis, knowing their parent was not fully human, and that their family structure was built on a lie or a magical coercion. They may internalize the abandonment and blame themselves, exacerbating their trauma. The Selkie, initially embodying the nurturing mother figure who bears and loves her children, ultimately subverts this archetype through her departure. This creates a terrifying psychological paradox. The source of comfort becomes the source of profound pain. This subversion can instill a deep-seated fear of intimacy and trust, as the most fundamental bond is shown to be inherently unstable and conditional, dependent on an alien nature that can override all human affection. This implies that even the deepest love can be fleeting and ultimately meaningless. 6. The existential horror of losing one's true self. While often framed from the human perspective, the Selkie's own suffering is a profound existential horror that resonates deeply with human fears of losing identity, autonomy, and authenticity. Being trapped in a human form, separated from their true nature in the sea, the Selkie experiences a profound loss of soul. Her skin, which contains her identity and connection to the sea, is essential. Without it, she'll slowly forget herself. She lives on land until her skin begins to dry, and she aches to return to her home in the sea. Isolated from the sea, in a role alien to her nature, the Selkie diminishes, her spirit or true nature existing elsewhere. This emotional detachment and existential void represent a form of living death. This forced human life is a terrifying portrayal of an inauthentic existence, where one's true self is suppressed for external demands. It mirrors the modern psychological fear of living a life that isn't true to oneself, leading to emptiness, depression, and a profound sense of loss, even amidst apparent comfort. The Selkie story thus becomes a cautionary tale of the internal cost of conformity, where the spirit withers away and happiness is impossible when one sacrifices their true form. The narrative implies that this loss of soul is so profound that it can only be remedied by a complete return to one's original state, often at great cost to others. This highlights a terrifying imperative: The true self must be reclaimed, and the longer it is suppressed, the more devastating the consequences when that reclamation finally occurs. This demonstrates the terrifying, unyielding power of one's inherent nature and the potential for destructive upheaval if it is denied. 7. Their origins as condemned souls or fallen beings. Some Selkie lore attributes their origin to deeply unsettling sources, suggesting they are not merely magical creatures, but beings with a profound spiritual or moral taint. According to one version, Selkies are bodies that house condemned souls, or are humans who had committed sinful wrongdoing or fallen angels. This belief imbues their very existence with a sense of punishment or a mark of past transgression. Other traditions suggest that seals, and by extension Selkies, are children of kings under enchantment, cursed by witches or sorcerers. Furthermore, a common belief across Scotland, Ireland, and Scandinavia is that Selkies are people who drowned at sea. This connection to the dead and the drowned adds a spectral, canny element to their existence, blurring the lines between the living and the departed. This hidden, cursed nature beneath their alluring exterior adds a profound layer of supernatural dread to their interactions with humans. It implies that their beauty and charm might mask a deeper, more sinister reality, making every encounter potentially fraught with unseen spiritual dangers. 8. The unsettling physical manifestations of their otherness. The physical process of shapeshifting, described as a graphic and bizarre skin removal morphing, is inherently unsettling, challenging the boundaries of natural biology and human comfort. Beyond this transformation, the offspring of Selkies and humans may exhibit physical abnormalities, such as webbed hands, or a sort of web between their fingers. These physical traits serve as a constant, visible reminder of their non-human lineage and the uncanny nature of the Selkies' influence, blurring the lines of human identity within the family itself. Moreover, certain traditions describe feral Selkies as a distinct, terrifying variant. These creatures possess razor-sharp teeth and claws, fins along the back of their head, spine, arms, and legs containing poisonous spines, and are incredibly aggressive, attacking anyone who attempts to capture them. This explicit introduction of a physically terrifying and overtly dangerous form demonstrates a capacity for aggression and physical harm that transcends the more subtle psychological terrors. These unsettling physical attributes and their potential for violence reinforce the idea that Selkies are fundamentally alien, their true form and capacity for harm lurking beneath a beautiful or seemingly benign facade. 9. The catastrophic consequences of interfering with their nature. Direct interference with a Selkie's essential nature, particularly the destruction of their skin, can lead to devastating and deadly outcomes. While the common narrative involves stealing and hiding the skin, one tale explicitly describes the destruction of a Selkie-esque skin resulting in an explosion that spreads the fire to his cottage and his wife dies in the flames. This illustrates a terrifying, immediate, and fatal consequence for attempting to permanently sever a Selkie from their true form and natural element. Such narratives highlight the profound danger of attempting to control or destroy what is inherently wild and magical. They suggest that violating these ancient boundaries invites catastrophic, uncontrollable retribution that can consume not only the transgressor, but also their entire domestic world. The power unleashed by such a transgression is immense and indiscriminate, demonstrating that the Selkiest connection to their true self, and the sea is a force that cannot be trifled with without dire and often deadly repercussions. 10. The seductive allure that leads to ruined Selkies, particularly male Selkies, are described as very handsome in their human form and possessing great seductive powers over human women. They typically seek out those who are dissatisfied with their lives, such as married women waiting for their fishermen husbands. This inherent allure, while initially captivating and promising an escape from mundane or unhappy lives, ultimately leads to tragic outcomes for human partners. The Selkies' inherent nature will always draw them back to the sea, regardless of human affection or familial bonds. The terror here lies in the insidious nature of a charm that promises love and fulfillment, but inevitably delivers abandonment and despair. The human partner is drawn into a relationship based on profound, yet ultimately conditional affection. The Selkie's departure, often immediate and final, shatters the human's world, leaving them with the devastating realization that their love was insufficient to overcome the creature as primal connection to its true element. This demonstrates that even the most irresistible attraction can be a pathway to profound suffering and ruin, highlighting the deceptive power of an allure that leads to ultimate heartbreak and desolation. Conclusion: the Selkie, far from being merely a romantic figure of folklore, embodies a multifaceted and profound terror. Their unsettling dual nature, the horror of forced domesticity, the devastating psychological impact of their abandonment, and their unpredictable and potentially vengeful temperament all contribute to a deeply unsettling perception. Furthermore, their origins as condemned souls or fallen beings, the uncanny physical manifestations of their otherness, the catastrophic consequences of interfering with their nature, and their seductive allure that leads to ruin solidify their place as truly terrifying entities in mythology. The Selkies' narrative serves as a powerful exploration of human fears surrounding identity, control, abandonment, and the untamed forces of nature, making their tales resonate with a chilling relevance even in modern times.